Some recordings should have stayed hidden. Figures inside fire.
We're out. Yeah, hey.
Shapes moving under dark water, and people no longer acting human. What you're about to witness is deeply disturbing. Watch closely, or you may regret it.
Be out there. We're out.
During a firefighter training exercise involving controlled flames, one of the instructors recording the drill noticed something unusual on camera. A dark, shadow-like figure appeared to move directly through the fire and out of the room. At first, he assumed it might be smoke or a trainee still inside. However, when he stepped into the hallway, he saw the same shadow slip from a burning room into an unlit one. The movement didn't match smoke patterns or human motion. From that moment on, the instructor believed the footage may have captured something beyond a simple illusion, possibly a supernatural presence linked to fire itself. Before we start, hit like and subscribe to stay alert, because these strange moments from around the world weren't supposed to exist.
Yeah, hey, Graham and Autumn, y'all get out.
Green shadow.
Oh, people. No. Ahí nomás.
A video shared by a concerned mother on September 30th, 2025, soon went viral after showing her baby being followed by a faint, greenish blur moving beside the child, just as if it were a shadow. Now, obviously, this couldn't be one by its nature, manner of movement, or by being recorded at night, while it was believed that this blur thing guided the child away from the flames. Another theory suggested that this was a spirit of some kind that was after the child. Another similar sighting was made by a family that was out camping on the outskirts of Missoula, Montana, where a grandfather was dancing with his granddaughter beside a bonfire late at night, when a dark horned shape appeared to emerge from the surrounding shadows, seeming to move toward the child. The family's dog reacted first, suddenly alert and fixated on the same area. Moments later, the baby turned and stared in that direction as well, as if sensing something unseen. It wasn't until the clip was replayed later that the shape became clear on camera. Convinced by what they saw, the family believes they unexpectedly recorded what possibly could have been a demon or a jinn. Entity in flame. A disturbing incident was captured near an abandoned hospital in Mexico on September 4th, 2024. A man named Mario, who was nearby at the time, reported hearing unsettling noises coming from inside the burning structure, including what sounded like banging and faint cries. As flames tore through the building, he began recording and noticed something deeply unsettling through the smoke. Standing in a window was a dark, motionless figure, seemingly untouched by the fire, silently watching before vanishing moments later. The room was fully engulfed, making the presence of anyone inside impossible. Mario later claimed the figure appeared to have horn-like features, leading him to believe it may not have been human. The footage has since left viewers questioning what truly appeared within the burning ruins. Glowing silhouette. While on a lunch break in Petrozavodsk, Russia, workers noticed something strange near the storage area where they were offloading goods. A glowing human-like silhouette appeared, moving back and forth in an eerie, unnatural manner. Its movements and luminous form gave the impression of a ghostly presence rather than a human intruder or thief. The unusual sight left the workers unsettled, as it seemed more like a spirit or supernatural entity than anything explainable by ordinary means. Haunting faces. An Arab paranormal investigator who was exploring a long-abandoned apartment complex in Tangier, Morocco, hoping to film something after learning about it being haunted. He set up a couple of recording cameras on several of the floors before starting to monitor them all remotely. One of the cameras among them started picking up movement a few minutes after he had stepped away. A Frankenstein-like face or series of them started to appear, looking towards the camera. It is unclear if this was of a single being or multiple beings that were hesitating to appear out in the open. For a brief moment, one of them had a flame that sparked on top of the head until it disappeared. Emerged from flames. On the streets of Santiago, Chile, a man who was heading home came across a private property that suddenly erupted in flames. As it raged, he noticed a strange, black, shadowy figure emerging from the most intense part of the flame, moving in a way that made it clear this was no ordinary person. Its presence raised unsettling questions. Was it the cause of this sudden event, a victim caught in the blaze, or merely an eerie coincidence passing through the scene? The mysterious figure vanished as quickly as it appeared, leaving the witness and onlookers unsure of what they had just seen. Sprinting spirit. At the moment when a group of firefighters were busy putting out a fire in Pedra de Itaipava, Rio de Janeiro, one of them filmed a very odd occurrence. On the hilly surface, a dark shadow appeared out of the blue as it was running towards the forest fire. The area having been cordoned off previously by authorities is something that further points to this, as something done by a ghost or a spirit, though its intentions are unknown. According to rumors, it also could have been a jinn, which, according to religious beliefs, are made from the fire. Confronted by jinn. Another Arab was in the midst of exploring an old house in the remote areas of Al-Ula in Saudi Arabia, a place famous for its ancient ruins and deserted settlements surrounded by desert landscapes, where he encountered a jinn. Though the jinn wasn't physically seen, but its confrontation was so intense and intimidating that the source had to leave the place immediately to avoid taking any risks of what might follow. At one point, the jinn even appeared to try to trap the man inside, making the situation far more terrifying. Unwelcoming apparition. A house that was sealed years ago in an isolated area in eastern Egypt due to reports of ghost sightings, the source of this clip decided to go anyway. Only minutes after he had made his way inside, all hell started to break loose. A flame that not only got lit all by itself, but also started to move all over the room and the hallway of that house, where the source, in panic, started to recite religious verses as the only hope of protection from it. What was unbelievable about this was that the flame was burning without any material fueling it, defying physics, not to mention the sudden dimming effect. Seated Una Bruja.
Vean. Se ve horrible, güey, ve, güey.
Two friends who were returning from a fishing trip in Taganga, Colombia, to their vehicle when they spotted that there was already someone inside. This was despite the doors being locked. It managed to get in and, for reasons unknown, was waiting for them. Within moments after they had spotted it, the figure magically started a fire within the vehicle, a sight of which left them both in panic, confusion, and intense fear, until the camera that they were filming with abruptly stopped recording, with this scary being meeting the description of a mythical being called Una Bruja. This case was labeled as one of its sightings.
Mames. Ve, güey, se le ven los ojos hundidos, güey.
Divine figure. Native from Caxambu, Brazil, who was on a morning walk when, on a hilly surface, he noticed this shining figure from a distance. Though it didn't move, It had a silhouette very much to that of a humanoid, but looked more as if it was something like a divine appearance of an angel. Before the source could get any closer to investigating, it was reported to have disappeared, leaving this clip as the only proof of his claim. Closed room ritual. Footage dated July 2nd, 2025, shows a lone man inside a darkened room, carrying out what looks like a forbidden ritual. Symbols surround him as he chants into the silence, and soon the mood inside the room begins to change. The air feels heavier, shadows seem to shift, and faint sounds appear to respond to his voice. A demon or a beast starts to emerge from around the flame, while the exact cause of motivation for this ritual is not known. Rumor has it that this was a doing of a strong black magic that was in the works. Watch carefully and judge for yourself. Some things aren't meant to be disturbed. Physical jinn appearance. After a forest fire had erupted in the hilly woods, locals from a village nearby saw a tall, weird humanoid being that was said to have emerged from the fire. Apart from its usual appearance, it was walking around all over the place, almost as if it were lost or in some confusion. Numerous theories were speculated about its nature and possible case, but none of them stood out apart from one, that this was the physical appearance of a jinn, a spiritual entity that, according to religious beliefs, is known to be composed of fire. Levitating monk.
How is he doing? Are you guys seeing this?
Dan White, an adventurer chasing rumors of real magic, traveled deep into the remote mountains of Nepal. There, after meeting a monk, he witnessed and filmed something that seemed to defy reality. The monk levitating in midair, with no visible tricks, smoke, or wires. The footage quickly sparked debate. Some viewers believe the monk was possessed and drawing power from a dark entity, while others think it was part of an ancient ritual, especially given the surrounding candle flames. Dan insists it was pure spiritual power, a guarded secret of the mountains. Was this a genuine supernatural ability, or is there another explanation?
You guys seeing this?
Locked underground. Locals from a village in Nigeria, who after hearing continuous sounds of anguish coming from a very particular spot underground near a wall, decided to check it out. Two of the teenagers dug partially on the very spot until a flame mysteriously lit up there, shaking them in fear, while the screams continued. Only seconds after they backed up, the flame suddenly grew in size and took the shape of a humanoid, catching them both by surprise right where the footage gets cut off abruptly. Levitating ritual. In 2017, an unsettling video began circulating on a private online forum, said to have been filmed in a remote forested area of Montenegro. In it, several members or figures were seen moving in circles, not on foot, but levitating around the flame. The clandestine ritual was connected to a little-known group called the Ember Circle, rumored to operate across Eastern Europe. In the weeks leading up to its release, locals had reported strange lights and eerie sounds coming from the woods, though authorities dismissed the claims as campfires or pranks. The video shows a large symbol burning on the ground, believed by some to represent a summoning rather than an offering. No identities, no reports, no trace. Officials continue to deny the video's authenticity. Witches' manipulation. Families that were on a camping trip in the Chilean woods were just moments after they set up camp, and then this happened. Just over a dozen meters away from them, across a small canal, they noticed a canopy of bushes that mysteriously got ablaze after hearing what sounded like high voltage, though there were no power lines anywhere around. It wasn't until they saw a terrifying-looking woman who appeared soon after their camera stopped recording. From its appearance to what it was up to, it is safe to say that this was a witch into nothing good. Dropping down angel. A security camera in downtown Kampong Glam, Singapore, recorded a strange event on September 26, 2011. The footage shows a radiant human-like form appearing for only a split second before vanishing without a trace. The figure seemed to emit an intense glow that lit up the surrounding area, with a darker shape visible at its center, believed by some to be its head. The appearance was so sudden that nearby people reportedly rushed to the location, trying to understand what they had just seen. Whether the figure descended on purpose or appeared by accident remains unclear, leaving the incident open to endless speculation. Satan summoning ritual. Right after discovering books of manuscripts detailing summoning Satan via rituals, a group of young paranormal investigators decided to try it out jokingly. After following it in the very place they found it, its effect started panning out, leaving them shocked. According to an expert, this ritual that these unknown youths pulled off took a lot of risks, as the ritual failed miserably. Concerning ghost activity. A homeowner in Dallas, Texas, who was repeatedly experiencing unexplained activity, decided to set up cameras in hopes of capturing whatever was causing the disturbances. While he was expecting something dramatic, the paranormal activity escalated to something far from normal. Instead of breaking or tossing anything around, it lit the stove and kept fueling the fire in one way or another, making it grow bigger by the minute. Within minutes, it produced enough smoke to catch the owner's attention, who quickly put out the fire. At first, he thought he had left the stove on until the footage was reviewed the next day. Paranormal gateway. This incident stands apart from the usual exaggerated paranormal claims and feels far more unsettling. During an investigation inside an old abandoned house, two investigators were exploring the basement when a mirror suddenly shattered without warning. At first, it was dismissed as an accident. However, after reviewing the footage in slow motion, something far more disturbing appeared. A dark, shadow-like form can be seen emerging at the exact moment the glass breaks, almost as if the mirror itself served as a doorway. The discovery transformed a seemingly minor incident into something deeply disturbing, leaving viewers questioning whether the mirror was more than just an object, and possibly a passage between worlds. Shadow intruder.
Yes?
While working from home in broad daylight, a man started to have the lights near his bathroom flickering on their own. For the first couple of seconds, he assumed it to be a voltage issue until he heard what he described to be of movement.
What is that?
Feeling a mix of curiosity and unease, he went to investigate only to catch a glimpse of a dark, shadowy figure that looked small, like a child that was peering out from inside the bathroom. Alarmed, he rushed in to confront whoever it might be, but the room was empty, leaving him questioning what he had just seen.
Who are you? I'm not gonna hurt you.
Ghost Trails couple. As a couple exited a parking garage in Mexico, a security camera captured something unsettling behind them. A dark, human-shaped shadow can be seen trailing closely, keeping pace as they walk away. It moved with purpose, closing the distance, yet neither person showed any sign of noticing it. The figure was just a few feet away from them, its behavior raising disturbing questions. Was it unaware of which one to target, or was it deliberately waiting? Whatever followed them remained unseen, its intentions impossible to determine, leaving the footage as the only trace of a presence that should not have been there. Mysterious beings descended. At the time of night in Baltimore, Maryland, a motion sensor activated security camera in the United States captured something unbelievable. It started off as an invisible craft that appeared, hovering not too far from the sky, before it released strange beings made of light. These glowing figures only had a partial bright silhouette that moved smoothly through the air until they reached the Earth's surface. Once reaching the surface, started to scatter all around the area. This raised the question if these were ghosts, spirits, or more like aliens with some cloaking tech. Shape-shifting spirit.
Se mira esto como de luz pasando, pero no sé.
Security guards from a surveillance at a mental health care facility spotted what they first saw was a glowing orb that seconds later transformed into a humanoid. With it wearing clothes very similar to those of the patients, they immediately sent guards to investigate and possibly apprehended, but not one was seen or spotted anywhere. The shape-shifting that was initially taken to be some camera glitch then started to make sense that it was not a glitch, but a paranormal moment that was caught on camera.
Y como que se convierte en un señor, mira.
Cemetery apparition. A graveyard digger decided to set up trail cameras all over the cemetery after hearing strange howls at night. When he checked the footage the next morning, what he saw left him frozen. At 2:39 a.m., the camera captured a tall, pale figure standing behind a tree. Its limbs too long, its head slightly tilted, watching silently. A minute later, it peeked out, revealing a face that looked almost human. Almost before it disappeared after a bright flashing. The nature of this being or entity was unclear, as it could be anything from a lurking soul, a witch, or even a supernatural entity that randomly created this atmosphere of terror. Girl taken over? In the midst of filming her daughter asleep, a mother noticed something that made her uneasy. Her daughter was already awake, lying still and staring directly at her, but her eyes were strange black and white, unlike any human gaze. Then, she lifted her hand and waved, though the movement felt oddly stiff, as if she weren't fully herself. The mother froze, unsure if she was seeing her child or something else entirely, as a strange, unnatural presence seemed to guide her daughter's actions. Angel in the mosque. At the time of the afternoon prayer, one of the bystanders shared a very surprising incident that occurred. A glowing being that was in the shape of any other man was seen praying in the mosque almost as casually as if it were one of them. While it was clearly not an ordinary human, witnesses on the scene started referring to it as possibly an angel. However, what made the source more surprising wasn't the appearance or nature of this angelic being, rather that most of the people were not able to see it. Glowing oddity. This is another instance of a motion-sensing camera in the courtyard of a private home, capturing an unusual event during the night when a mysterious object suddenly appeared within the frame, followed moments later by 3 glowing spheres. The orbs moved in a deliberate, coordinated manner that did not resemble insects, reflections, or any common environmental cause. Their motion appeared controlled rather than random, drifting and shifting position in a way that left viewers puzzled. The footage offers no clear explanation for what triggered the camera or what the glowing objects were, leaving the incident open to speculation. Mysterious hovering. As two local men were on a walk through the quiet forest near Muscat, Oman, when they slowly reached an isolated section filled with total darkness, where without a warning, an unknown presence emerged from the shadows, and the atmosphere shifted instantly. It was not much of a figure, rather an object that was being influenced to hover above the ground, its head glowing like flickering flames. An eerie, echoing sound spread through the forest, making the air feel heavy and tense. The figure did not walk, but glided forward, moving straight toward the men, as if driven by a dark and unnatural force. Patient possessed. On January 22nd, 2015, a man visited his girlfriend in a hospital somewhere in Paris, where he witnessed a chilling event. In the bed beside hers, a woman suddenly began to roar, her voice deep and unnatural, almost demonic. The entity seemed to focus on him and his girlfriend, speaking as if plotting against them.
Petite femme, toi et ton mec, ta bouche et ta sale gueule, et ton pote, ton mec, vous allez tous crever.
As the intensity of the scene grew, the recording abruptly stopped, leaving the rest unseen. According to the source, the woman's voice continued, shouting that she intended to take them all out, adding an even more terrifying edge to the encounter.
Contactez le milieu, espèce de fils de...
Elevator soul spirit. A leaked security camera captured a scary moment inside a hospital elevator. While assisting a patient in a wheelchair, a nurse suddenly saw a mysterious figure materialize out of thin air. In an instant, it passed right through the wall and disappeared, leaving the nurse paralyzed with fear before she ran off, leaving the patient behind in shock. When hospital management later reviewed the footage, the strange event was confirmed, though the video eventually surfaced online after being leaked by an unknown source. Possessed hitchhiker. In Brazil, police stopped a truck after noticing a woman who, according to the driver, was hitchhiking. She was behaving in a deeply unsettling way. At first, they thought she might need assistance, but as they approached, shock set in. Her movements were strange and erratic, her body twitching unnaturally, and she let out low, guttural sounds that didn't seem human. The officers had dealt with people under the influence countless times, but nothing had ever looked like this. Sensing that something far darker might be at play, they took both the woman and the driver into custody, though what happened afterward remains unknown. Rolling wheelchair. A surveillance camera on a quiet street at night captured a chilling sight. A wheelchair rolled into view on its own, empty, gliding across the pavement. As it moved, a shadowy figure dressed in white appeared atop a nearby shop. Moments later, an object from a stool in front of the store was hurled across the street, startling a local who had been sleeping nearby. He looked around, but saw no one. Locals later linked the strange events to an abandoned hospital nearby, where a patient once used that very wheelchair. After fleeing, he never made it far, and now his restless spirit seems trapped, endlessly replaying his final moments near the place he was last seen. Possessed mother's smile. A video uploaded online quickly went viral, and for unsettling reasons. It showed a mother and her baby asleep in bed when, suddenly, the mother's face shifted. Her eyes began to glow, a chilling smile stretched across her lips, and her neck twisted in a way that looked completely unnatural. The movement was eerie, as if she had lost control of herself. Viewers who saw the clip speculated that she might be possessed, trying to explain the disturbing behavior. If the family witnessed this in real life, contacting a priest immediately would seem the only precaution. Basement horror. For days, something had been hiding in the basement. Finally, a man summoned the courage to investigate. As he stepped into the dim space, a figure sat silently, staring out the window. At first, it didn't react, but then its eyes glowed and locked onto him. A shadowy presence brushed past, heavy and cold, and he felt paralyzed with fear. He didn't stay to uncover what it wanted. Terrified, he fled, certain that whatever lurked down there wasn't human. It resembled a possessed man, but whose? Bedroom crawler. Late one night, a young man woke up with an unsettling feeling, certain something was outside his room. The hallway beyond was cloaked in darkness, but before he could move, a small black creature with glowing eyes appeared, staring straight at him. The instant it realized he had seen it, it vanished, slipping silently under the bed. Heart pounding, he bolted for the door, desperate to escape. Locals later recalled that a former resident had dabbled in dark rituals, and some speculated the creature might be a guardian spirit gone wrong, now lurking in the shadows, silently watching over something unseen. Attic presence. Neighbors kept hearing strange noises coming from the attic of an old apartment building. With the owner away in Italy, he decided to set up a camera to see what was happening. When he reviewed the footage, he was stunned. A chair shifted on its own, and a toy horse began swinging as if an invisible hand were playing with it. No one else was in the house, yet the movements were undeniable. It seemed the prolonged emptiness had invited a restless presence to make itself at home. When a house sits abandoned too long, it may not stay empty, and when you return, you might not be alone. Drowned souls. In Peru in 2022, a security camera captured a mysterious figure with glowing eyes sitting near a well. At first, it looked like a man, but someone lingering there at that hour felt wrong. Suddenly, the figure shifted into a shadowy, floating form and rose toward the well. Just as it seemed to descend, another orb-like shadow emerged from the water, meeting it mid-air. Locals whispered that the spirits were two friends who had drowned there, now restless and appearing each night, seemingly seeking help. Since then, people in the area have avoided the well, unwilling to risk encountering the haunted pair. Summoned demon. An unknown source was going down the rabbit hole of tracking down a cult when he came across them in the midst of a ritual. 2 to 3 cult members wearing red attire were circling a fire they had lit, performing a ritual when, after a while, a thin shadow appeared that seemed partly physical immediately after they stopped moving. It was too dark and too far away, making it difficult for the source to get a clear look at what it actually was. But one thing is certain. This was definitely not normal. It looked evil, perhaps even like the devil himself. This was the first time the expedition team had experienced something like this. Fisherman's troubles. A young man from Turkey, an avid fisherman, decided to spend a night at Satoran Dam, documenting his trip with a camera. As darkness settled, he felt an uneasy presence, and soon spotted a ghostly figure near the water. It wasn't an animal, just a pale, floating spirit with hollow, empty eyes. Frozen with fear, he managed to light a flare, which startled the apparition long enough for him to flee. He never returned to the dam. A few days later, another fisherman reported seeing the same eerie figure this time, even in broad daylight. The video has definitely reached its end. I will see you again with another WoW video. Until then, you can check these other videos out for a wow dose of entertainment and knowledge.